you don't want to watch a grown man go through a midlife crisis, wax nostalgic, maybe get a little emotional, and give a boring tour of where he grew up, you should probably find another video to watch. It is a lousy day to be driving. It is just nothing but rain. It's caused me to maybe rethink some things I wanted to do later today, but I'm thinking because of the melancholy mood that I anticipate some of today's actions being, that maybe today's weather is perfect for that. When I was in high school, in order to get home, I had to cross 3 different bridges every day. And we're coming up on that series of bridges now. Emotions about this next portion of the trip. We are about 5 minutes away from Harker's Island, and I'll be home where I grew up. And I've not been on Harker's Island in at least 2 years, maybe even longer. A lot of reasons for that. My mom no longer lives there, and I really don't have any connections, relationships with folks that are still there. At least not ones that I have decided to invest time or emotional energy into that. And today, as I head back to that place, I'm sort of filled with all kinds of regret in those regards. All kinds of strange feelings are coming up right now. But we're heading over there. There is some footage that I am excited about getting despite the dismal weather. And we'll see how this goes. We'll see how I hold up. This is stop number 1 on the island for me. This is the family cemetery. And this is tough because we are approaching 13 years since the passing of my father. And this is Uncle Buddy. I never met Uncle Buddy. It was my dad's uncle, but I heard a lot about him. This is, everyone else called this gentleman Mr. Stacy, but he was Poppy to me. His house was right across the road. It had been across the sound on the Outer Banks, and they took it apart piece by piece along with everyone else, and they came and reassembled their homes on the mainland. And I grew up in his backyard until he passed away when I was 5 years old. And I grew up right across the road here. That house is no longer here. You know, as I drive around the island today, one of the things that I'm going to encounter are a lot of things that my dad was a big part of. Things that he helped to start, things he helped to keep going, things that he made strong. And he had a lot of respect by the people here on the island. By no means were we rich in any way. No one would have considered us the most wealthy people here on the island. But my dad was well respected by the people here. Poppy, Mr. Stacy, was well respected by the people here. And when I look at all of these things, and then I look at my own life, and I have to admit, there's a lot of regrets there, because what am I leaving behind? What can I point to that my sons will one day say, yeah, my dad was part of that, and people respected him because of what he had done. And I have fallen way short. And that's part of what's making this trip very difficult for me. This is Shell Point, so named because the Native Americans tried to build a bridge from here across to the Outer Banks. It's about a 2-mile stretch if you go at its closest point. And I never actually saw this, but before sands on the bottom shifted and everything else had happened, you could still see remnants of what they had done. Where they had attempted to construct this bridge, and locals called it Shell Point because of how they were all piled up. The other thing that has no significance beyond the social history of the island is when you had nothing better to do, you got in your car and you drove to Shell Point, because this was the end of the earth. And you'd sit here with a few other people who had nothing else to do and had driven down here, and you'd sit and talk. One of the things that I love about this museum here on the island is its preservation of a way of life that is all but gone. There are no fish houses, there's no boat houses. A whole way of life is gone. And just about all that remains are pictures and memories. When I say that my great-grandfather was a boat builder, I don't mean he built pleasure craft. These were work boats. These were boats that men used to support their families, to make a living. This is the bandsaw he used up until the day he died in '74. And we've kept the bandsaw all this time. We gave it here to the museum as a way of preserving a way of life. And that's how he supported himself, by building the boats that the other men would need. This part of the exhibit honors the churches on Harker's Island. And the going joke was, if the island ever sank, you'd be able to find it because of all the steeples. And you can see, for a small island, not even 10 square miles big, these were all churches that were on the island. And all of these still exist. I don't know how good this will turn out because of the wind, but I'm standing outside the Harker's Island Fire and Rescue Department, where my father was fire chief for, I don't know, 15 years or so. It was all volunteer, and during that time he did a lot to grow this department, the services that they could offer, even things as simple as helping to lower the insurance rates of homeowners because of what the fire department was able to do. And this is just one more of those legacies. And I never realized how much he had done through the fire department until his passing, when the fire department came and brought both of his fire trucks. Many of the firemen showed up in their uniforms and escorted his coffin out. And again, like I said, it was a slow procession with them leading the way to the graveside service. These are not pleasure boats. These are work boats. The men that work these boats probably work the hardest that any man has ever worked, naming their boats after their loved ones that they're supporting by working on these things. Maybe it's my midlife crisis, but I really was being filled with a lot of regret. Regret that I didn't feel like I had accomplished what I should have accomplished at this point in my life. When I think about my father and his legacy, I regret that my hometown has changed. Certainly can't do any of the things that I used to do growing up. Access to the shoreline and to the water is near about impossible, unlike it was in days past. I remember my summers being spent in the water and walking down to the shore and going to our family boat. That fits into a bigger picture of just a whole way of life changing and a heritage that is going to be gone, and except for in museums. Once I pulled over and started doing the first bit of filming, it was cathartic for me. I drove down to Shell Point, took the video in the museum, but something eventually, another feeling began to replace that. And I still have regret that that way of life is gone. I still have regret that I can't provide that for my boys. And I replaced it with, I guess you could call it a sense of pride for a connection to a heritage, a sense of fortune. Fortune is not the right word. A sense of having been blessed that I could call that place my home, and that I would have those kinds of memories. I'm sitting in my classroom editing this video, and I decided I'm going to put a different ending on it than originally planned. In the time that I was at my mom's when this video was made, the Marine Fisheries Commission passed some new regulations, some very stringent, restrictive regulations on commercial shrimping. And I don't make a living as a commercial shrimper, but very few people are going to, if any, at this point, if these regulations, if they find a way to enforce these and to carry these things out over the next 12 months. It's just one more thing. It's another nail in the coffin of a culture, of a community, of a way of life. And I'm not going to go into a lot of the political machinations that are involved in this whole thing. I tried to make this channel to be something, that's always positive. But it's just sad, because I know that so much more is going to disappear. So much of my personal history from both sides of my family are going to be gone. And pretty soon, all that I'm going to have left of Harker's Island is this t-shirt that I bought with a lighthouse on the back of it, and these little mementos in my classroom. My picture of the lighthouse, this little Harker's Island skiff, and of course this bookcase shaped like a boat here. And it really bums me. I had some footage of the lighthouse that I had taken from the lookout tower on the museum, because the lighthouse, the Cape Lookout Lighthouse, is the symbol of down east, is the symbol of back home. And something happened to that footage. I don't know what, but I'm completely bummed about that. So I'll wrap this up. Thank you very much for coming along with me as I tried to work out my midlife crisis. I think I finally have come to terms with some things that I've needed to for a couple of years. It's the first time I've left the island happy in quite a while, and that's one of the reasons I hadn't been down there in 3 years. So thanks for joining. I know this didn't seem to really have a whole lot to do about teaching and being in school and what happens in there, but the name of this channel is A Teacher's Life, and well, this is what was happening in this teacher's life. If you're watching this video from a Facebook link, please do me a favor. Could you please go to YouTube and like it from there? That'll help out me a whole lot. And of course, please comment, please share this, please subscribe to this channel. If you've watched this video, if you've watched me go through a midlife crisis, I think you enjoyed the other things even more. Like I close out every video, remember to give somebody a reason to hope and learn something new every day.